Hi, in this lesson we're going to talk about how to solve a system of linear equation by elimination. So we're going to look at two examples as to how to do this. The first example is going to be this system of equation here. The first equation 5x minus 2y equals 7. And we got the second equation 3x plus 2y equals 1. Now notice that if I were to add these two equations, this negative 2y plus 2y, those two terms are going to cancel each other. So when I add them together, I'm only going to have x terms left. And that is the idea of elimination. You want to eliminate a variable. Okay, so for this one, we're going to start by eliminating the y variable. So here's how it works. So add those two equations together, just like that. So now negative 2y and 2y cancel each other, so we just have 5x plus 3x equals 8x on the left side, and 7 plus 1. That's 8 on the right side. Now if you divide both sides of this equation by 8, then you get x equals 1. Now once you know the value of x, to get the value of y, it's the same as we did with the substitution. You go back to the system of equations, and we're going to pick one of these two equations and plug in x equals 1. Now here I'm going to pick the first one, so 5x minus 2y equals 7. So I'm going to plug in x equals 1 that we got before. So 5 times 1 minus 2y equals 7, which is same as saying 5 minus 2y equals 7. So now if I subtract 5 both sides, I end up with negative 2y equals 2, from which if I were to divide both sides by negative 2, I get y equals negative 1. So I'm done with this system equation. So in other words, for this system, 1 comma negative 1 is the solution. Now let's look at another example where the equations are not that nice, meaning I cannot right away cancel either the x terms or the y term. So look at closely, I've got a 2x in the first equation and a 3x in the second one. I got a 3y in the first equation and a 2y in the second one. So if I add or subtract this equation, I don't cancel either x or y term. So what we can do instead is multiply either one or both of this equation depending upon the problem by different numbers. That way we end up with an equivalent system where we can indeed cancel terms together. So if I were to, for example, multiply this first equation by a 3, so just like that, so you distribute this 3 to each of these terms here, I end up with 6x plus 9y equals 24. Now I'm going to multiply the second equation by a negative 2. And then that's going to give me negative 6x minus 4y equals negative 14. Now you see that I got a 6x and a negative 6x that if I add these two equations together are going to cancel. So that was the goal. So I carefully chose this numbers 3 and this negative 2 so that I've got a same term but with opposite signs. And then if I were to add those two equations together, I get to cancel those terms. Or in other words, here I can eliminate the x. So now let's add those two equations together. So 6x and negative 6x cancel. So I got 9y minus 4y, which is a 5y on the left side, and on the right side is 24 minus 14, which is a 10. Now if I divide both sides by 5, I get y equals 2. So for this system, I again go back and just pick up one of the two equations. So here I've got 2x plus 3y equals 8, so I'm going to pick this equation and then plug in y equals 2 that I just got. 2x plus 3 times 2 for y equals 8, which is the same as saying 2x plus 6 equals 8. If I subtract 6 both sides, I get 2x equals 2. from which if I were to divide both sides by 2, I get 1. So now I have both the value for x and value for y, which means I've got 1, 2 as my solution. That's it.